we should be good. We're good. We're good. All right, so we can just go, right?
You're ready to rumble.
Okay. All right, here we go. Wait, I'm recording.
Hello.
Test, test. You're good.
Hello. Test.
All right. So I have been playing Flight Sim 2024 all day. We're at the preview event. Went to the Grand Canyon, but I'm here with the head of Microsoft Flight Simulator, Jorg Newman.
Great to see you.
It's always great
was
to
it?
see you. Oh, it's fantastic. It's fantastic. But you know, I've talked to other people on the team all day, and I'm ending it with you. And I think it's ironic because you and I have been talking about this game since the Xbox showcase in 2021.
That could be true.
And since that time, you and I have traveled literally around the world and back.
But just at the beginning, man.
Yeah.
This is just the start.
Talking about Flight Sim. But it was funny because, you know, when they announced 2024, I thought to myself, why is it a whole nother game? Why can't you just add this in to 2020? You talked about this in the presentation, but since you and I are talking now, kind of give the reasonings why you're making a brand new flight simulator game with 2024.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's sometimes you're the victim of your own success. That's literally what happened
Yeah.
here. So if you, in case you don't know, there's a creator community out there that creates, there's an SDK, you can make planes, you can make airports. And I think we have completely underestimated the creativity of the people in the world.
Yeah.
So, you know, we built this marketplace and we had never done something like this before. And we thought it was cool when we had like 100 things. And then over time, it was like 1,000. We're like, okay, that's more than we thought. 2,000, 3,000, 5,000. We're like, and it became the architecture of the product just was not meant for that. We just didn't build it for that. So when you build an open SDK, you have to be cognizant of the fact that maybe you don't control it. And this is a game or a product that isn't controlled by a development team. It's just not. It's a platform. And as a platform, you have to have different awareness, and I would say we've learned our lesson. You know, we were sort of right at the transition. Like Flight Sim, I think in 2020 when it came out, it was one of the first games that used the cloud a lot. You know, we said, you know, things like this, 2 petabytes of data. I mean, most people had to look up what's a petabyte. Like,
Right.
what does that even mean? It's like, okay, it was a near infinite amount of data, 2,000 gigabytes. Okay, so we had it in the cloud, but I think we're sort of at this halfway point of like, yeah, the world's in the cloud, but the rest isn't. It's like a traditional game. So we launched, I think we had 120 gig. I think we're now at 400 gig. And it goes up like every time we do an update, it's 30 gig extra. Every time, click, click, click.
Yeah.
We do updates every month. So yeah, you do the math, you're like, it doesn't fit on anything. It just doesn't fit. So we knew we had to completely change everything and put it all in the cloud, which is what we did. So that was one reason. The other reason is there is a data explosion in this world. So when you see this Grand Canyon behind us, this used to be a height field, you know, like 5-meter resolution or something. We felt great about that, like 5 meters, whatever.
Yeah.
Now we're at like 15 centimeter. Some of the stuff is 3 centimeter. It goes algorithmic. Yeah, it goes up to such a degree that you can't really store this anymore. So I think that's why I think in the presentation earlier I said to the cloud is the only way. Go to the cloud, and that is what we did. And I think that is now future proof. So I feel good about that. And on top of that, people just the other thing I perceive as a true change in how we make games. And I think you cover tons and tons of games. Like I see people talk about AI and what it means, and I see we use AI. Like I don't talk about it much anymore, but like we run AI over all the aerial imagery to determine, is this a rock? What type of rock? Is this sandstone? Is this granite? Is this whatever, right? And so that's pretty data intensive. But I think we're just at the beginning of that change. What AI really means to gaming, how much you can do in this. And I think we're going to look at, because you used to be a world builder, right? I used to have to place trees down and stuff. And now we have 3 trillion trees.
Yeah.
Okay. So then I'm on this quest. My team makes fun of me to put animals everywhere because I'm like, hey, our planet isn't like a dead place, right? There's life everywhere. It's an infinite amount. It's millions, if not billions of things. And for that, you need to change how you work. The whole thing is currently undergoing a massive upheaval, and I think we're gonna be able to make completely different products in the future. And I think Flight Sim in its tradition, like from '82 to now, it always was at the edge what was possible. That was one of the things that Flight Sim stood for. It was always like the benchmark program. Here's what you can do nowadays, and it
Right.
always used like you needed like the best computer possible, right? And I think we're still seen that way, certainly by the core consumer audience, and that pushes us to take on all these tasks and these, you know, in some ways data risks,
Hmm.
and I think that's where I feel more comfortable now, where we are, at least for the next number of years. But some people ask me, like, is there another one? Like, a lot of people nowadays ask me, where's the Flight Sim 2028? To which my answer is, well, it's for the consumers. The consumer decides. We'll see how Flight Sim 2024 is received. So far, everything is positive and people like it. But we really have to see. I think as far as are we going to be at another threshold of what gaming can do? It could be, and that nobody can predict this. None of us can. I think we all try to look ahead,
Yeah.
you know, what it all means, but we don't know. So, but to net, why could we not do in 2020 what we're doing now? It was impossible, technologically impossible. And I think there are some games that are sort of game as a service type products. At some point, you ask yourself, which generation do I belong to?
Right.
And I think we decided that we want to be at the cutting edge, because that's what Flight Sim is. That's what people want. But they want simmers want realism, authenticity, accuracy to the nth excess. I mean, it's excessive, but that's what the product is all about. So then you need to go. How far can you go with modern tech?
Well, and then that's just sticking on that technical aspect of it. Going back to 2020, I
Mm.
remember when it came out, and it was such a resource hog on PC
It
when it
wa-
first came out.
it was.
But to your point, I think a lot of people, including myself, accepted that because Flight Sim has always been a visual showcase. I
Yeah.
mean, this 2024 is going to be a visual showcase
Yep.
title. And like you said, you've always been on the bleeding edge when it comes to that. But to the credit of you and the entire team working on 2020, the improvements that you made from a technical standpoint just over the last 4 years has
Mm.
been phenomenal. I mean, it went from on a 3090, I could barely hit 30 frames per second to
That's
now
true.
you got DLSS and I can hit 100 frames
Yeah.
and, you know, the ray trace, just everything that you've done with 2020. And I've talked to other people on the team already about this. And just from a technical standpoint, like you said, putting the majority of the game in the cloud now, you're basically only bringing down what you need at that time.
Yeah.
Really helps with
That's a
that,
big deal.
because I think you even showed in one of the screens it was now you're only installing 23 gigabytes
That's right.
versus whatever insane
I
amount
think
it
it'll
was
be at the end
before.
of the day, it'll be 35. Or
Yeah,
something. But
yeah,
it's a fraction of what we are. Like
exactly.
it's maybe a fifth.
Yeah,
But on the other hand, you saw in the presentation, it's 4,000 times the resolution.
yeah,
Have you ever heard? I mean, so I've been making games for 30 years. I don't know, you've been in the industry forever.
yeah. No, no, no.
Like, what the hell are we talking about?
Right.
Like, it's like, so it's and that to me, that's just the ground terrain. When you really think about it, that's just the ground terrain.
Yeah.
I sometimes look, I mean, obviously, just like you, I look at other games like GTA 6.
Yeah.
Cool, but looks awesome, right? I love that trailer. Like, you know, I can't wait to play it. Look at the density of stuff. Just look at it. I think that is going to be, when it comes out, you know, it's basically going to dominate everybody's gaming experience, and it's going to set a new benchmark of what is expected of
Yeah.
what games can do, just like Red Dead did. You have no idea how often I talk about Red Dead 2 to the team. I'm like, they have squirrels running on trees. Why don't we
Right,
not have squirrels running on trees?
Yeah,
What's going on?
yeah.
Like, I want to go have some bison running on. I think we, as an industry, it used to be try to get to photorealism. You know, we obviously with all the rendering techniques, we got closer and closer and closer. At some point or another, it is about the density of content, and in our case, the density isn't arbitrary. It's not a designed game. It's the real world. It is just the real world, and it's going to be super interesting. I predict what's going to happen is people look at our 3D cities next, and they're going to say, "Oh, okay, they used to be the best looking thing. Now they're kind of the worst looking thing. What are you going to do about it?"
Yeah.
That's coming. I
Flight-
guarantee
Flight
you.
Sim
They're
2028.
Like,
that'll be it then.
why I fly into
Yeah.
Manhattan and land somewhere on a lawn in Central Park? Why is there not thousands of people running around everywhere? Why do
Yeah.
taxis not have the right license plates? This is coming.
Yeah.
I know it's coming. And I'm like, okay. But the cool thing is we will get closer and closer to this. We will enable that. There's no doubt in my mind.
Well, I mean, the fact that you already have you call it the digital twin.
Yeah.
You literally have recreated planet Earth.
Yeah.
And I can go anywhere. Like when I played earlier, I went to my rinky-dink airport that's up the street from my house. There it was, just as I, see it all the time. And I'm playing the game doing that. And you can do that in the game now, which kind of transitions me into the careers and the activities.
Mm.
What sparked that idea?
It's we listened carefully,
Hmm.
and what was interesting. So I try to break this down into simple terms. Like there's simmers that have been. This is their main hobby in life. Gamers, we all know, and
Yeah.
then there's these people that are really digital tourists. They're not even playing games. They might play solitaire.
Yeah.
Those are the type of people. But like, wow, Grand Canyon is nice. I want to go there. And they became these digital tourists. And what was interesting about all of it, at the end of the day, I watched this 4 or 5 years now. Everybody said, "Can we have more to do? Please give us some structure." Even the people that played flight simming forever, knew what to do. They have their own schedules, right? They make their own stories.
Yeah.
Also, they asked the same thing. So it was actually the number one piece of feedback. It was like, please give us something to do. And then we thought about like, how do we do this? And the first idea was just let it be natural. Fly through the world, and if there's a mission, they call you, and then you're like opting in. And that sort of works in theory better than in practice.
Yeah.
Because frankly, the distances, and sometimes you don't want to, like you don't want to be disrupted all the time. So it's more of an opt-in. My prediction is that that's going to change. I think people will actually now go into these careers. They will get hooked in certain things that they fall in love with. And then they will say to us, I believe that's going to happen next year, I bet your money, or maybe the year after, they're going to say, hey, can we also do this while we're in free flight? Because ultimately it's one continuum. That's what people really want. So we're giving them an onboarding into these careers. That means you learn how to fly, you get the specification requirements that you need, because you have to actually learn some of this stuff, right? It's not an arcade game. It's kind of the opposite. But once you have it and you are qualified as a firefighter, say, then I think you want to exactly hear that. You want to say, I want to have firefight whenever, and I think that's coming next.
So can I give you my prediction? Because
Yeah.
I was saying this in a previous discussion I had. I think these activities, there's going to be a huge demand for community created versions of these.
I agree with you. But the system is meant to be open. The
Yeah.
SDK is open. Like when we make world updates right now, the missions, none of these are made by us open, not a single one, ever. It's made by Perfect Flight, who's an individual in Italy. There's Norbert, who's an individual in Germany. I know them all.
Right.
And they use the SDK to make these missions.
Yeah.
I think the same thing is going to happen here. This is going to open up. This entire project, Flight Sim, is a community product, which is why it dawned on me over time, right? It used to be Microsoft had this team called ACES. They sat in Redmond. They made flight sims. They made good flight sims, but they never really opened up to the world.
Yeah.
And I think I'm just kind of maybe I think I'm different. Like I just don't work like this. Games for me is a team sport. It's not an individual thing, right? It's not like the superstar one dude. That doesn't, to me, this is fiction. It's
Right.
a team sport. You share a vision. This vision is shared with the community. So you need to empower people to do what they're good
Absolutely.
at. And throughout this entire presentation, people said, what's so different between 2020 and 2024? 2020 was made by 100 people in France with 20 people in Seattle. This one's made by 800 people. Sure, 200 in France, 50 in Seattle, but the majority was not made by us. The majority is made by people who have passion. Some of these people we brought into this because I really just wanted to capture, it's like, do you see this? They live for bush trips. That's all they do. That's what they want to do. Let them do it.
Yeah.
If people want to do something, this is the vessel in which they can do it. We need to just give them the tools.
Yeah. You
and
give
have
them
an
the
open
tools in the
enough mind
sandbox. Yeah.
to let them do it.
Yeah.
Like when I get phone calls from like the Coast Guard and stuff, and they're like, "Hey, Jörg, we have recruiting problems. Can you help us?" I'm like, "Hey, we're making flight sim. You want to help us make, search and rescue missions better?" They're like, "Absolutely. Send us the software. We'll give you feedback."
Yeah.
Ultimately, I have no problem if they want to make their own curriculum for search and rescue stuff for the Coast Guard. Do it. It makes the sim more right. That is what people really want.
Completely agree. Which leads me into something else that you showed, which I thought was very impressive, was how the marketplace has scaled over the years. I believe you said at this point the amount of content in there's basically three pieces of content a day?
3.5.
3.5.
Every
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
I go to all these websites and I'm like, man, look at all this stuff. And it's great. So a lot of it is like some people make it plain, more or less great, but a lot of them are really good. Some make airports, but then there's innovations.
Yeah.
And there's true innovations. Like for example, there's a group that makes they're called seafront simulations. What they do is marinas. Why not? They specialize in marinas. They made themselves some smart tools. They wrote some AI to analyze the marina visuals, and they basically built the marina piers, and then they put boats in it. Yeah, it's a fundamentally clever way to make the marinas work. And there's lots of these types of things where I mean, I've just talked to somebody who's passionate about trains, and he's like, "Yo, can't we just have trains?" I said, "There's no reason why we shouldn't have trains. It's just who should make them,
Right.
because there's a train sim out there. I'm
Yeah,
sure
yeah.
there's more than
Mhm.
one train sim out there.
Yeah.
Like, hey, if they want to make train sim inside our world, why the hell not? Who
Yeah.
am I to say no?" So I think that's how I think about this. I sometimes I think about it like Roblox. You know, people can use Roblox, make stuff. The difference is that those are not, they don't come back together as an experience. And here, this is the experience of planet Earth. There's truth in it because it's our Earth. But can people do whatever the heck they want? Can somebody do a golf game? Sure. I'm not against that. Do I think I would be great to make golf game? I'm not so sure about that.
Yeah,
I'm
right.
terrible at golf.
Yeah.
But why not? So that to me is the digital twin. That's the true promise of what we have here is an environment. It's very hard to make this, right? If I were to think about which companies in the world can make this, probably Google, Apple, Microsoft, simply because nobody else has the data to have a map app of that kind of sophistication. But then you need to be also have a gamer's mind. The interesting thing about Microsoft is we have all this base tech, super cool. Like the Microsoft tech stack's awesome, Bing, cool. But we also have the gaming soul for 30 years. And I think that brings an Xbox is, oh, I mean, you're one of the real believers. Xbox, I think, brought people together. When we first did Xbox Live, there's community here. And
No,
we've
I
learned
did.
this. This is in our DNA. And I think that DNA is enabling this. I've been at Xbox since 2000. You know, I think for me it's a natural thing to make a platform like Xbox where people can do stuff together to make a better experience. That's different from GTA. GTA is all Rockstar. That's what they have multiple teams and stuff. Sure, I don't want to do that. I think that's limiting. I don't want to have a single creative director dominating everything. It's better to have people have freedom. That takes you places that are unexpected.
So I'll say for me, okay, I'll say for me, because again, you and I have been
Yeah.
having these conversations for years at this point. This was the first event where I was with other true flight sim creators
Mm.
and listening to their conversations today and seeing the passion that they have from you, because you talked about it a little bit already, but from your perspective, seeing that, I
Mm.
mean, how does that enable you as a creator
It
making
fuels
this
us.
game?
It
Yeah.
fuels us. Like I find the collaboration in the community. They always, I don't know if you know that much about it. They call them the grumpy simmers.
No, I
Oh
didn't
yeah,
know that.
it's actually a term, the grumpy
Yeah.
simmers, because nothing's ever good enough. That is a group of people on the pursuit for perfection.
Yeah.
And you never reach perfection. It's just not a thing, I don't think. But they drive each other further, and that is sort of the mantra of this whole thing. But they do it out of love, and it's true love. It's aviation love.
Yeah.
And as long as you respect that and harness that for good, and as a platform, all we can do is enable them to bring that love into this product. Then they're happy, they have the platform that they want, they can be creative. And that is where I think our future really lies. And do I know where that's going to go? Hell no. I have absolutely no idea. I get up every morning and read about something somebody invented in our product.
Right.
I'm like, okay, well,
Yeah.
that's different.
Yeah.
It just completely changes how you think about making something. Our number one thing, my job is not to be creative director saying, my vision is to have geese. Like nobody needs this. There's geese already in the real world. My job is to listen carefully and to enable people to do what they think is great. And then you get somewhere.
Final question, and correct me if I'm wrong. You said that there's 15 million unique people playing Flight Sim now.
Mhm.
What would you say to that next 15 million that's going to discover 2024?
I think they will. I think that I really believe our planet is a beautiful place, and I also believe if you've ever been in an airplane or like you flying a helicopter,
Yeah,
those
that
types
was
of things,
crazy.
it is changing your perspective on
Yeah.
us and who we are and how important we are completely. And I think you will discover, and I think everybody actually discovers it on their own. Like that, different people take different things out of it. I think some people are way into the tech and into the detail, and that's cool. And some people are just, they see a zebra and they're like, oh my God, I found a zebra. It makes me so happy.
Yeah.
And it's both. So I think just like the 15 million people, the fascinating thing was we had no idea that the digital tourists would even be interested, right? Because Flight Sim, it always wanted to be a full representation of Earth. It was just too abstract for most
Mhm.
people. Now it's no longer abstract. They find joy in different things. And I think, like, for example, like if you were to ask me what should we do in the future, I mean, we don't have birds, I can tell you. Not that I need to have a vision for birds. I was like, hey, we're Flight Sim, there ought to be probably some birds. There's bird watchers. They will go do that. You know, there's hobbies that entire websites that people do plane watching, basically plane spotting, it's called. They go to airports, they check which planes come in, they take the picture of the
Yeah.
plane, they put it on a website. That's a hobby. It's not a small hobby, actually. It's like stamp collecting
Yeah.
almost. And I think there's lots of those things. I think down the road, we will have people collect seashells. Why not? And that's why I sort of embraced the only gaming equivalents I could find. Like I played plenty of games, but it was Animal Crossing and Pokemon Snap. And those two, I'm like, I'll take this then because
Yeah.
I collected freaking everything in
Yeah.
Animal Crossing. As I had the book, I was like marking everything up. It's like I'm getting every fish in Animal Crossing with 400 something fish. Got them all, sure. And Pokemon Snap was the moment to moment delight that you can get and saying like, oh my God, look at this! I got this particular thing. It's a particular animation or something. I think that's the only time I had that in my gaming career was in Zoo Tycoon. I know, weird, but when the Maltese tiger, which is one of the rarest animals in the whole thing, when they have a baby cub, the likelihood that that happens is super duper small, like in 1 out of 1 million or something. Right?
Hmm.
But then when you take a screenshot of that, it actually means something. And I see the same thing happening right now. Where I had one of the main producers of Asobo, because they're all kind of, I think a lot of people looked at me funny when I talked about animals, quite frankly. They all think I'm on some sort of crazy trip.
Yeah.
But she said, Jorg, I found a giraffe. I'm like, and did it make you happy? She's like, it did.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, just imagine you see a rare snow leopard, with a cub, and you took a picture, and you're the only one, because the thing is so dynamic. It's not like they repeat. There's no patterns here. You were the only one who will take that picture of that snow leopard in the Ural Mountains in Russia. And why the hell not? And this is just like a real experience. It's like a real memory. Just happens to be in the virtual space.
Yeah.
And you can share that with the community.
Right.
That's awesome. And so I think this is going to go. This is how this is going to go. Some people will film planes having exciting adventures and whatever, a thunderstorm or whatever. It's a digital life of its own in our planet.
I'll say this to end it. The whole conversation that we had, we barely even talked about a plane.
I know that's true.
But that's the beauty of what. But that's the beauty. But that's the beauty of what you've created with this sandbox and what Flight Sim has been and what it's becoming with 2024. And I think people will be excited for it.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're here, like always.
Yes, I'm looking forward to our next adventure.
Hey, it's going to be some other continent.
Yeah, I'm
Double
sure.
dare you.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.